I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church. This is your Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon, which I'm doing on Friday. So Saturday is kind of a busy day for me. It's the Rotary Pancake Breakfast, so I'll be slinging out, I guess that's a term, slinging out pancakes. If you want some pancakes Saturday morning, come on out. It's for a good cause, and I'll be doing that. And then, as many of you saw, Sue Hukari passed away, and I'll be doing her graveside this Saturday afternoon. So this was a perfect time for me to kind of get this in. We are doing a series of sermons in Advent called Hearing the Prophet, Hearing the Baptizer, Hearing the Angel, Hearing the Mother. Last Sunday, we talked about hearing the prophet Isaiah. We talked about how Isaiah, especially in the initial part of the book of Isaiah, is kind of gloom and doom. He looks around and he sees the brokenness of the real world, and he basically says, man, we are on a sinking ship, sinking fast, so hold on tight. But in between those lines of despair, in those moments where he points out our brokenness and our depravity, Isaiah gives a word of hope in the prophecy of the coming of the Messiah. He says, out of something dead will come life. He says, out of the stump of Jesse will come a shoot. A shoot, of course, is the beginning of a tree. And he said that tree will bear much fruit. Of course, he is pointing to Jesus. This Sunday, we're going to look at another prophetic voice. It's that of the baptizer, John the Baptist. Now, a lot of people connect the story of the birth of Jesus to John the Baptist in the first chapter of the Gospel of Luke, when we're told that Mary, pregnant with Jesus, goes to live with her older cousin Elizabeth, who's also pregnant with John, who will eventually become John the Baptist. And when they have this encounter, we are told, because John can't speak, he's in his mother's womb, that he leaps for joy to be in the presence of Jesus. Well, fast forward 2 chapters to chapter 3 in the Gospel of Luke. We have this moment where John has been entrenched in his own ministry. And he talks about himself pointing the way for another. And we're going to pick up this story in Luke 3. Notice I didn't even mark my Bible, but I can find Luke 3 pretty quickly. Well, I thought I could find it quickly. Here we go. Luke 3. So in Luke 3, John begins his prophecy. First of all, it's so interesting. Luke makes this connection between John and Isaiah, which is interesting, and not by chance. You know, your minister picked up on this, where he calls John a voice calling in the wilderness. Those are Isaiah's words. And Luke puts that in. John is that voice crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight his path. And then John says, this is his sermon. It's going to sound familiar, especially as we looked at Isaiah. You brood of vipers, who warned you to flee the coming wrath? Produce fruit in the keeping of repentance, and do not begin to say to yourself, but we have Abraham as our father. For I tell you that out of these stones, God can raise up children of Abraham. John is asking the Jewish people, those who are coming out to listen to his sermon, to rethink their understanding of their salvation. From the moment that we get the beginning of the formation of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith, they believed that their birthright, being children of Abraham, was their connection to their salvation. But Jesus says that's not quite right. As a matter of fact, we will learn as we read through the gospel that Jesus points them in a different direction. This is why John says, hey, don't say it's because you're children of Abraham that you're going to be saved. John's already foreshadowing Jesus' ministry, but he says fruit comes from repentance. Or another way to look at this, life, like the life Isaiah talked about, life comes from our repentance. So this Sunday, that's what we're going to kind of focus on. What does repentance have to say about Jesus coming into this world? And it may actually surprise you what I'm going to say. So I hope to see you this Sunday. Remember, this Sunday evening at 6 p.m. is our Christmas concert. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be fantastic. I'm, you know, just to let you know, I've been listening in to the choir practicing. Then we have our Happy Birthday Jesus party during Sunday school for our children. A lot of things are going on. It's a busy time of year, but it's not busy enough for us just to pause on Sunday morning and to give thanks and to hear those voices that talked about the Messiah to come.